Hi, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Bible Talk with Dr. Steve. I'm Dr. Steve, and today we're going to start a short series on Isaiah chapter 7 with the specific intention of offering a fuller understanding of verse 14, which states, "Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin will be with child and bear a son, and she will call his name Immanuel." The question we're going to ask and answer over the course of the next 2 weeks in this short 5 sessions long series is immediately thinking of Jesus as this child whom according to the verse his mother will call Immanuel, giving Isaiah the best opportunity to express fully what he was intending to express. In other words, should we jump to Jesus just because Matthew chapter 1 verse 23 references Isaiah 7:14? I don't think we should. In fact, I actually think that identifying the child Immanuel in Isaiah 7:14 with Jesus in the first instance, that is, within the immediate and larger historical context of Isaiah and his time, actually puts Jesus in a very bad light. But how do I get there? Well, it will take a little time because there is a lot of information that needs to be considered in order to understand what is actually going on in Isaiah chapter 7, which might not seem obvious at first glance. I only ask that you give me a couple of weeks and 5 short videos to present my case. In the end, what you will gain by understanding what I'm saying is threefold. 1, you will learn an important introductory lesson in studying the Bible, which is that God, not the devil, is in the details. 2, you will understand Isaiah 7:14 more fully. And 3, you will see the close connection between Jesus' ministry and Isaiah's and the critical role Deuteronomy 18 plays in understanding the larger context of Isaiah 7 and how Isaiah's ministry is connected to Jesus' ministry in Matthew's presentation of the gospel. Over the course of this short study, I will talk about the meaning of Isaiah 7:14 in the first instance versus in the second instance. What I mean by the first instance is, what did Isaiah's prophecy mean in Isaiah's day, and how would Isaiah and King Ahaz have understood the prophecy? Viewing Isaiah's prophecy in the second instance, then, is to consider how Matthew viewed Isaiah's prophecy and why did he reference it? That is, to what end? What did the writer of Matthew's gospel want his audience to hear and understand in the last verses of Matthew chapter 1? To understand that, we will need to explore more fully the larger context of Matthew chapter 1 verse 23, which reads, "Behold, the virgin shall be with child and shall bear a son, and they shall call his name Immanuel," which translated means God with us. I'm going to tell you again, only a couple of little words will play, again, an important role in helping us to appreciate what these texts are telling us. Did you happen to spot them when I was reading the 2 verses just now? If not, don't worry, we'll get to them before we're done. As you will hear me say throughout our continuing journey, when studying the Bible, pay attention to what may appear at first glance to be inconsequential. Contrary to popular belief, I really do not think the devil is in the details. God is. The devil doesn't have to work that hard. He just has to get people to feel good about picking up their Bible and reading it. The devil is in the generalities. God is in the details. In fact, God calls us to study the Bible, not just read it. And that requires paying attention to the details. Paul writes in 2 Timothy 2:15 that we are called to be diligent to present ourselves approved to God as workers who do not need to be ashamed, handling accurately or correctly interpreting the biblical text. And, by the way the text is written means that we are to interpret the text correctly or accurately on an ongoing basis. That is, all the time, every time. That said, today we are going to look at the historical background of Isaiah 7 and what Isaiah and King Ahaz were aware of at the time of Isaiah's prophecy in verse 14. In our second video, we'll look at the specific text of Isaiah 7, focusing first on verse 3 and talking about why verse 3 helps to unlock one's understanding of verse 14. In our third video, we'll look at 2 important texts, Deuteronomy 18, and Isaiah 8 to see how those texts impact Isaiah's prophecy. In our fourth video, we'll explore the connection between Matthew 13 and Isaiah 6 and how and the impact those texts have on a proper interpretation of Isaiah 7:14. In our fifth and final video, we'll look at Matthew chapter 1, verses 21 to 24, in order to recognize why the writer of Matthew's gospel may have referenced the Isaiah prophecy about a child called Immanuel, and how that reference fits into Matthew's overarching purpose. Now, before we get started, please grab a piece of paper and something to write with so you can later look up the passages we discuss. Also, thank you for your comments. Please keep sending them in, and if you like the content of what I'm putting out, I really do appreciate you smashing the like button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, which will let you know each time I put out a new video. Now, on to the Bible study. A good rule of thumb before looking at literally any verse or passage in the Bible is consider the surrounding context. So, with that in mind, what does one need to know before one quotes Isaiah 7:14 and confidently declares this child Immanuel is obviously Jesus, because it says so in the first chapter of Matthew's Gospel? Well, the first thing one needs to know about Isaiah 7 is that there is an important historical situation motivating the Lord to send Isaiah to King Ahaz in the first place. As you may well remember, the kingdom of Israel was first united under King David around 1000 BCE, but it was divided into two separate kingdoms during David's grandson Rehoboam's reign, about 70 years later, sometime around 930 BCE. A northern kingdom and a southern kingdom. The northern kingdom of Israel was larger was the larger of the two kingdoms and was the home to 10 tribes. The Bible also refers to the northern kingdom as simply Israel, and in Isaiah 7 as Ephraim. The southern kingdom of Judah was smaller and is also referred to simply as Judah. Judah was the home of two tribes, Judah and Benjamin. King Ahaz became the king of Judah about 730 BCE, so about 200 years after Rehoboam's reign, or just a little over 700 years before Jesus was born. What we need to know going into Isaiah 7 is that Ahaz, the king of the southern kingdom of Judah, was facing a national crisis. The northern kingdom of Israel, led by a guy named Pekah, who had joined forces with the kingdom of Aram, led by a guy named Rezin. The kingdom of Aram corresponds roughly with the modern political boundaries of the state of Syria and a little further north and west. These two kings got together in order to overthrow Ahaz and replace him with a puppet king named Tabeel. You can see this in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 6. That may be a little confusing because the names are a bit unusual for our ears. Ahaz, the guy God and Isaiah are trying to help, is being invaded by Pekah, the bad king of Israel, and Rezin, the bad king of Aram. These two baddies are plotting to install a puppet king named Tabeel to rule Judah, which means they're going to kill King Ahaz. And God and Isaiah are trying to help King Ahaz remain holy and to trust that God will deliver him. However, before Isaiah showed up, King Ahaz had already sent word, along with silver from the temple, to the king of Assyria, and an even larger kingdom than both Israel and Aram, offering to be the king of Assyria's servant if he would protect Ahaz and the southern kingdom of Judah from their enemies, namely the northern kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Aram. Now, I believe this alliance that Ahaz was in the process of forging with the king of Assyria mattered to the Lord, because if Ahaz became a vassal of the larger kingdom of Assyria, then Judah's fate would become tied to the fate of Assyria. And history tells us that Assyria was later conquered by, among others, the Babylonians. So, God sends Isaiah to intervene in this unholy alliance, telling Ahaz, Do not trust the Assyrians, trust the Lord. This is the purpose of Isaiah chapter 7. That means that Isaiah 7 is about trusting the Lord, putting your faith in Him rather than in your own resources and ingenuities. That is really hard to do, especially when your life is on the line. Remember, King Ahaz was facing not only his own death if Pekah and Rezin succeeded in installing their puppet king Tabeel into power, but also the death of his kingdom. You can learn more about this history, by reading several biblical texts. 2 Kings chapter 15, especially verse 37, as well as chapter 16, verses 1 to 9. Also, read 2 Chronicles chapter 28. These texts will give you some background on what is going on in Isaiah 7 and will shed light on why the Lord sent Isaiah to speak with King Ahaz. Knowing this reason will give you the necessary background for approaching the intent and purpose of Isaiah's prophecy in Isaiah 7. Okay? Well, that will do it for today. Please don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. And if you're not already a subscriber, please do subscribe. It helps my channel, and I really do appreciate it. Also, please feel free to leave any comments. I am grateful for your feedback. Now, in our next video, we will specifically look at the text of Isaiah 7, focusing first on verse 3 and why verse 3 helps us to understand verse 14 better. For now, thank you for joining me. I'm Dr. Steve, and this has been Bible Talk with Dr. Steve. Peace.